for a while now, Wild West Online has been on everyone's radars. It seems like it's the next new big game that has come from a somewhat unknown developer. People have always been looking into it and it looks incredible. But is it all that it seems to be? In this video I'm going to be going over why I think you should be a bit more cautious about this game and not go straight in and buy it. Because there's some things that other people have uncovered that might make you a little bit wary. Now, I'm not saying full stop that you should not buy this game, because of course when it comes out there might be some incredible things that everyone's saying about it, and it might be the game that it's being promised, but I would definitely hold back from pre-ordering it or buying it in its early stages until you see some feedback from some YouTubers and things like that. So when this was announced, a screenshot was put out. And it was just a screenshot, and people actually thought this was Red Dead 2, and you can kind of see why. It's kind of been a thing on everyone's minds at the moment that Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably going to come out sometime in the near future. So when this was announced, everyone was misled. Now, that's not necessarily the fault of the developers, but I think it was probably quite a good PR stunt to try and get people more excited about this game and looking more into it. But when people found out that this was Wild West Online, I don't think it was much of a problem, since what was being promised looks incredible. It looks like the perfect game for any Wild West enthusiast. But people started to look more into it. People started to realise that this might just be too good to be true, and it might not be the game everyone is expecting. So there's a developer called Sergey Titov, and you may know him from being behind various companies that have actually produced some, let's just say, poor quality games in the past. Now, one of these games that you probably would have heard of is War Z, and actually now I think it's been renamed to Infestation Survivor Stories. But what is the problem with this game? Why is this such a big thing? Well, when War Z was released, it was actually released around the same time that ever popular DayZ. So I think a lot of people realised that this was a little bit trying to cash in with the whole zombie survivor thing, but it's not the only game that does that, so it wasn't that special. But the problem was this was such a poor quality game, it had terrible reviews. The developers left it alone, and of course the name was then changed because War Z is very similar to DayZ, and you can see why people were getting them mixed up. But yes, War Z was an extremely poor quality game, the engine was terrible, the gameplay mechanics were absolutely shocking and not living up to the standards that people really wanted here. DayZ was obviously so successful at the time, and it felt like a little bit of a cash-in. So why is this related to Wild West Online? So of course this Titov dude is actually behind the company that produced War Z, and this puts some alarm bells out for people looking into Wild West Online, since he's very much related. This because Wild West Online is using the Nightshade engine, and this was built by Sergey Titov himself, his company, his Free Reign Entertainment. They built this engine, which of course is being used for Wild West Online, so he's very much related to this game. And although he has said that he is not in development with the game, and the Wild West Online development team have said that he's not related, there are some alarm bells going off with people. One of their most recently developed game is a game called Shattered Skies. Now, I'll get onto these other games a bit later in the video, but let's just say Shattered Skies flunked a little bit. It was extremely terrible, especially on the Steam ratings, and it was completely abandoned by the developers as well. And then, of course, we have other games that Free Reign Entertainment went to work on, like Burstfire. Now, this game was also abandoned by the developers. So I think the main thing that people are actually worried about is when Wild West Online comes out, that it's going to be completely abandoned by these developers. They're actually, of course, they're not technically the same developers, but they're very much related to this Free Reign Entertainment. Now, these terrible games that have actually been released by these very much related companies, yes, they're under different names a lot of the time, but they are very much related in some ways. They're all kind of tied together. And I'm going to go through some of these games and why I think they're just so bad. I mean, one of their games that was quite recently released was Last Man Standing. This was a free-to-play battle royale game. Why was it released? Because PlayerUnknown's Battleground was one of the most popular games on Steam, and it was released very shortly after. That's an obvious cash-in on the Battle Royale series, which was becoming the most popular at that time, and is still very popular now. So they released a free-to-play Last Man Standing game just to try and cash in. Granted, it's free-to-play, so no one's really losing anything there. But of course, we go back a long time ago with War Z being released at the same time as DayZ. I mean, it's complete cash-ins on the most popular games that are out at the time. There's also Shattered Skies, which from screenshots and videos looks very similar to H1Z1 and was released at about the time that H1Z1 was becoming extremely popular. There's also, like I mentioned before, Burst Fire, which if you look at screenshots looks incredibly similar to Rainbow Six Siege, and it seems like all these games they have developed are very similar to popular games at the time, and they just look like they're trying to cash in on the success. And now there's Wild West Online, which is obviously coming out and being announced at a very similar time to Red Dead Redemption 2. And yes, it might be a good business decision. They might be getting more people interested by releasing their games at the same time as these popular games, but from the past, it hasn't looked like there's been anything actually worthwhile here. They've all been rushed out games that are completely buggy, the game mechanics are terrible, the engine just doesn't work properly, and that is why so many people are worried about Wild West Online. But let me talk a little bit about what this game does offer and what they are promising on the website. So it does actually seem like the perfect game for any Wild West enthusiast. I mean, you can choose your path, you can interact with players, or you can just go off on your own. If you want to do things like mine or prospect, then you can do that. Or you can trade with people, or you can rob people and steal their things. And of course, you can get into gunfights with people that you want to attack or you've had kind of arguments with in the past. And you can hire people to do that stuff for you as well. There's also routes like lying, cheating, robbing or murdering, or just chilling around in the West, do your own thing, or be a cool little outlaw there. But of course, there's also things like being able to play on your own or with friends, joining groups, making clans, and doing that stuff, recruiting and fighting for control over territory. And it just seems like the perfect game. It seems like a simulation of the Wild West, which people have always wanted. Red Dead Redemption was great, but there wasn't much of a simulation in terms of the multiplayer aspect, and Wild West Online looks like it might be able to offer that if they come up with everything they're planning. Of course, there's day-night cycles, and there's different advantages and disadvantages to going at night and day. Of course, you have the cover of darkness, but it's more dangerous, and all that good stuff. But that's pretty much all I've got to say about Wild West Online. I'd love to see your responses down in the comments. Yes, of course, like I said in the beginning, I'm not saying you should not buy this game full stop. I'm just saying for now, I would sit on it. Don't pre-order it. Wait a few weeks, days, months after it's released, see what other people say about it, and then go and spend your money. Because of course, there's no point in spending your money on something the developers are probably just gonna leave after a while. And I hope they don't. I hope this game goes to plan. I really wish the developers luck with this, and I hope that they are going to deliver everything they've said on the website, because for me, that would be like the perfect game. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this, remember to check my channel out, and I'll try and bring some more information on Wild West Online when it comes out or when we hear more about it. But until then, I will see you in the next one.